I would love for you to cook with me. Just imagine you and me cooking side by side in my kitchen. Be great, right? But first, I would have to have you show me that you commanded the 7 skills that a chef must have to cook with me. So, how many of the 7 skills in my chef test do you have? We're going to find out today on the Carefree Cooks Code. I'm Chef Todd Moore, and this is the Carefree Cooks Code, every Tuesday live at noon Eastern. Here's our challenge. How can home cooks cook freely with creativity, confidence, and pride while ignoring recipes and still impressing themselves and others with what they cook? Well, the answer is found in becoming empowered with how cooking works, using dependable and repeatable methods of cooking that work for any ingredient, for any diet, and any desire, just like chefs do. And we'll know we've cracked it when everyone sees cooking as an exciting and rewarding way to improve their relationships, their lifestyles, and their health through better food and cooking. This is the Carefree Cooks Code. Hey, welcome back to the Carefree Cooks Code, everyone. You know we're live every Tuesday at noon Eastern, and no matter what your question is, where to find a recent video, how to find a live video, how to find a replay video, what my live schedule is, logging into your web cooking classes membership, whatever it is, don't wait for an answer, because you can find it in our brand new self-service automated help center. Get it right away at webcookingclasses.com/help. Because we're the carefree cooks we are, aren't we? Why are we different? Let me explain it to you. We create our own recipes. We bring friends and family together. We learn every time we cook. We create our own cooking style. We practice pro methods. And you know what? We wind up loving cooking, not hating it like most people. Because, look, here's the truth. No matter what you're skilled at, whether it's gardening or knitting or crocheting or playing golf or tennis or painting or playing the piano, public speaking, anything that you excel at and are comfortable doing has a repeatable method to it. And whenever you break any of these things down, just to the tasks involved in doing them over and over again, you'll start to realize that it always comes down to about 7 different things. It's like how deeply you plant the tulip bulbs, success or failure, right? The technique, the repeatable stitch that you use for knitting, how you hold the golf club or the tennis racket, how you apply paints to the canvas, your technique for fingering the piano, strumming the guitars, or whatever. It all has repeatable methods to it. So when you identify the skills that you need to repeat in a successful method, that's when you become expert at something. You're the person that can repeat those tasks over and over again without barely thinking about it. And this is the idea behind my 7 skills chef test. So let's see what your score is going to be today. But first, I've got a what am I for you today. I figured we're talking about professional chef stuff, so I would throw in a professional chef piece of equipment that's in the kitchen. Don't say strainer. Strainer, you get thrown out of my kitchen. That's a fail on the chef test. It is not a strainer. Anyone that has worked in a professional kitchen or has shopped at a very high-end mall store will know the correct word for this. You've got to get the correct word, and 10 extra points if you spell it right. It's the what am I for today. Tell me in the comment section below. All right, so look, what we're here to talk about today is actually a process that I developed when I was interviewing new cooks as the executive chef in a large hospital, because I realized that I needed something fair, a fair and equitable way to judge candidates against the standard, not just against each other and not just, if I like them or not. This would help me eliminate any bias on my part, because I know interviewer bias is the number one reason for bad hires. It's really what it comes down to. So the more I could eliminate my bias, the better hires I was making. And, for more than a decade now, if you've been following 12 years or so, I've been making videos and I've written about fear of cooking, right? Everybody has doubts in cooking. I've done tons of videos and written endlessly about guessing in cooking. And, the most pressing problem that home cooks have, ultimately, all these problems put together, it's inconsistency in cooking. And this just comes down to a lack of knowledge, right? And I'm not going to stop sharing all these things with you because all these problems come from the same basic root. All your fears, all your doubts, all your guessing comes from this lack of knowledge about the underlying repeatable, dependable methods in cooking, like you're knitting, like you're gardening, like you're playing the guitar. And if you really want to be free in your cooking without fear, with maybe instead of calling it fear, right? First thing we'll do, let's change these words. So it's no longer fear, it is excited curiosity. Go around telling people, I have an excited curiosity about cooking. Not that I'm afraid. Don't approach it with doubts. It's not doubts. It's confidence in what you're doing, confidence in the methods. Stop guessing at your cooking. You can always just call it an interpretation, And without the inconsistency that recipe brings, when you start solving all these things, that's when you start creating instead of just cooking, right? It just becomes so clear so quickly that if you get rid of the barriers, the fears, the doubts, and the lack of confidence, right? The inconsistency in cooking, if you can get rid of that, everything changes for you, right? Then you start using repeatable methods. Then you understand what the trick is, right? So if you think about a magician, magic, it's always amazing when you watch the magician's hands the way he wants you to watch his hands, right? The misdirection, that's the whole key to being a magician. But once he shows you the trick, once you know how the trick works, then you can't even see the trick anymore. Then you just start looking for this misdirection, right? You're in on it. Now you know his method. Now you can anticipate when he's going to repeat it, and the mystery is gone for you, right? The mysterious magic and wonder in cooking is destroyed by a repetitive cooking method, Just like the magician, there's no magic to the magician if you know all the tricks. There's no magic to cooking when you know the methods. And it's like an assembly line, because there are certain basic skills that you can duplicate again and again. Just like the magician can make a playing card, a dollar bill, a credit card disappear with the same sleight of hand, right? It doesn't matter what he's making disappear. It's the motion. I'm obviously not a magician. It's something that he does that looks a lot more coordinated than what I'm doing right now. But he does it smoothly. So if he can make a dollar bill, a credit card, a bird disappear, then you can cook chicken or fish or steak or vegetables or pork in the same repetitive method, because the magic is then going to appeal to you. There is no magic. Magicians don't even have magic. They have a method of tricking you, right? And it works every time. Cooking isn't magic. If you have a method of tricking your diners into thinking your food is great, because it is, then you can do it again and again, and they're amazed every time. So look, I don't want to go down too far a tangent. This is why I developed this 7 skills chef test. So do you want to know where all this came from? I'll tell you, the whole incarnation. Can I tell you a story? I can take a minute or so, a few minutes. I don't have a minute story. I don't think. I'm going to told you a story right here, as Justin Wilson used to say. I know I have a lot of stories. Been a lot of places. I've worked a lot of places. There's a lot of people I've seen. It's endless. And in my career as an executive chef, as a general manager, as the owner of a catering company, I've had many occasions to interview and hire people. I used to hire a lot of people. And as a culinary college professor, I would see the development of some of these people, right? Giving them the skills. And they all have one thing in common. if I'm interviewing somebody or if I'm meeting a new culinary student, they all want to tell me about their signature recipe. Everybody has a signature recipe. And when you interview for a job in a commercial kitchen, there's always the typical questions, right? The ones that I never asked because they're stupid. They don't tell me anything about the way this guy is going to cook food for my customers or patrons or guests, right? So I don't ask anybody, where do you see yourself in 5 years, son? Nobody knows where they're going to be in 5 years. It's the stupidest question. What's your biggest weakness? You know, these softball BS questions are the ones I really don't need an answer to. It doesn't matter. It's not going to help what I need that guy to do. And I would always like to just get a feeling from that person. You know, I would try and get a feeling of their sense of work, of their pride in what they do. And I can tell people who have an abundance in their hearts. I can tell people who believe in scarcity in the world. But look, I don't need to go into that right now. You're either abundance or scarcity, in my opinion. Maybe that's another Carefree Cook's code. But when you come looking for a kitchen job, there's often a trial audition. And you should be expected to be asked to cook something rather than where do you see yourself in 5 years or what's your biggest weakness? And the answer we all know to the biggest weakness question is, oh, I'm too good at my job. You know, that's my biggest weakness. It's ridiculous. So no matter who I was interviewing, they always wanted to make me their signature dish. No matter what new culinary student I saw in the first semester, they wanted to make me their signature dish. They were, oh, chef, I make a killer chicken marsala with zucchini flowers and Brazilian chimichurri sauce. Huh? What good does that do me as an executive chef? Plus, if it's their signature dish, this is the dish that they've practiced many times. They made it again and again. It might be something that they've been making since childhood. I'm going to challenge them with something other than a dish that they've made since childhood, and anything I consider a signature dish is something I'm perfect at. It's one thing I'm perfect at. So, look, I don't really care about your signature dish, all right? What I care about in hiring a chef is that you have the underlying skills that go into making that dish, right? When you come to interview to work in my kitchen, you're going to have to demonstrate a few things that are important no matter what you cook. So if you're asking me today if I have a keto course, if you're asking me today if I have a gluten-free course, a diabetic course, a low-salt course, a low-fat course, a low-sugar course, yes, I do. They're all the same course because how you cook, what you choose to eat does not change how you cook. So there are 7 skills basically in my chef test that can give me confidence that this person, this prospect, could cook anything I ask them to cook. And the reason I tell you about it today is these might be 7 more hurdles on your journey to true carefree cooking, right? These, just jot them down. Maybe this is something you already do. It's already in your toolbox. Cool, move on. Maybe it's something you never thought about. Jot it down and make it a goal of yours in the coming days to add one of these 7 skills to your repertoire. So let's go through them really quickly. The first one is, I want to see someone anticipate when oil is about to smoke. And this begins with an understanding of conductive heat, right? When you put olive oil in a pan, or if I see a chef like sprinkle oil on a pan that's going into the oven to roast, I know that's going to burn, right? So when liquid heats a pan, it begins to move, right? Oils begin to move. They heat up and rise. Even though they're in a space only this thick, they heat, rise, cool, fall, heat, rise. You can actually see the movement in the oil. And soon after this convection begins, your oil's going to begin to smoke. Now, different oils have different smoke points, so you can't use a thermometer. You can't use a book. You know, there's no way to know other than your experience, but by looking, by cooking with your eyes, anticipating when the oil is going to smoke by knowing the signs. So right there, if I ask somebody to cook me something, they go over to the saute and their oil smokes, don't bother doing the rest of the test. If you're smoking oil, if you can't control the first few steps in saute, then you're not going to work. And part of the test meant that I gave the prospect 3 oils. I would do this sometimes. I would give them 3 unidentified oils, like a canola oil, an olive oil, and an avocado oil, whatever else I had on hand. And I would go and tell them, tell me which of these has the highest smoke point. Right? Unlabeled, plain ramekins. Here's 3 oils. Go tell me which one has the highest smoke point. Don't you want to know where I see myself in 5 years? They would say. They wouldn't want to do that. Okay, number 2, developing color. If I ask you to saute some chicken breasts, if I ask you to grill some chicken breasts, don't bring me back white chicken breast. I want you to know that sugars caramelize at 320 degrees Fahrenheit. And the trick here, and it kind of has to do with number 1, is to get the pan hot enough to start cooking so you can see or at least quantify the temperature with a little bit of water splashed in the pan. You've seen me do this in our live cooking sessions. I do it maybe half a dozen to a dozen times. Splash, splash, splash. I'm looking at the heat building in the pan. And this test comes with any product I have on hand, any protein product. Just grab a chicken breast, grab hamburger or tofu or something like that, hand it to the prospect who wants the job, and I would go tell them to use one of the oils from before, maybe, use the oil with the highest smoke point, and bring me back something that is nicely browned. I don't need to talk to you for a half hour and learn all your personal things and stuff. I just need to see that you can cook a chicken breast and make it look really good. Third thing in all this, and we're dealing with conductive heat, is heating up, deglazing, and reducing a saute pan. Right? This is like a driving test. Can you heat the pan up, add the oil to it so that it doesn't smoke, control the heat so that your item is brown, take the item out, put aromatics, and deglaze the pan with a liquid, wine, broth, whatever you want. And I want to see that they can control this heat. And because this doesn't always mean blazing away. There are so many chefs I've had walk into my kitchen and they just think that high heat all the time, flaming things all the time. They think that browning an omelet is a good thing. It's not always with the hottest pan possible. Some cooking is, but not always. What I want to see from them in this test is a little bit of finesse, right? A true test of this skill is making a beurre blanc sauce, right? This is a great test. This is a test of your ability to heat butter so that it melts, but not so hot that it breaks, right? Into 3 pieces. And this shows me that you can control heat in a saute pan between 93 degrees Fahrenheit and 110 degrees Fahrenheit, the temperature at which butter melts and the temperature at which butter breaks. If you can make a beurre blanc, you can control soft heat, finesse with a saute pan. Go cook me 3 steaks, Tell when a steak is done to the right temperature. The best test I can think of is to hand somebody 3 steaks, tell them to go cook me 1 rare, 1 medium, 1 well done. Tell me which is which. It's kind of like pool. You gotta call your shot, All right, don't bring me back 3 rare steaks. So how do you do this? It's simple. I want to see the chef use a thermometer. I want to see that they know how to quantify their cooking. What I don't want to see is someone with a timer, someone looking at a clock, somebody poking them with their fingers and then poking their cheek, that ridiculousness. I don't want to see them gashing it open to look inside. Can you imagine if I told a chef to cook me 3 steaks and he brought me one with a gash in the middle? Out of here, dude. That's a fail. Total fail. Number 5, roast an item. But not just any item. You need to take like a delicate fish fillet, right? This is the ability to control dry convective heat. Can you cook something in the oven without drying it out? That's the basic test. And in controlling dry heat, there's such a fine line between the temperature at which proteins coagulate, 165 Fahrenheit, 74 Celsius, the stiffening and shrinking of proteins in cooking, that temperature, and 212 degrees Fahrenheit or 100 Celsius where moisture starts evaporating. That's what, 35, 45, 47 degrees. That's a tight range to have to cook in. And the key to cooking in the oven with dry heat is being able to cook in that temperature zone where the food is fully cooked, but before you've left it in there too long and it starts to dry out. So that's another good test in using your thermometer. All right, let's get away from all this dry heat for now, and let's test someone on their ability to control moist heat, right? So far, they have demonstrated saute and cooking in the oven and so on, but now I want to see what they do with moist convective heat. And to me, if you can cook consistently with dry heat, as well as get consistent results with moist heat, you're my man or woman, sorry. You are my candidate, you know? You're the person I'm going to hire if you can cook dry and moist and get consistent results, because this demonstrates an understanding of the difference between boil, simmer, and poach. This is huge, okay? This is one of the main things that we teach in culinary school that home cooks aren't taught. Home cooks are taught boil, one way. If you cook something in liquid, boil it. There's nothing but full pedal to the metal boil. That's a problem, you know? It's not how you cook with dry heat. It's not always full metal to the pedal to the metal kind of thing. I want to see that you know the difference between boil, simmer, and poach. And this is a very simple test. Poach me an egg, you know, out of the shell. Not a boiled egg, because again, there's no such thing as a boiled egg. But poach me an egg out of the shell. Show me how you can do it perfectly. If you can do that, I know you can cook in moist heat. You'll be poaching my fish for me. You'll be steaming things correctly and so on. All right, number 7, you got to be able to make sauces. There's just no doubt about it. If you want to take your home cooking skills up to a pro level, it's the ability to make a series of sauces without recipes, without measuring, by eye. And this all comes down to thickening agents. And there are different thickening agents that can be used to make any sauce. And for me, I would want my chef to be able to make a blonde, brown, or brick roux, and then use the correct thickening agents for each. So flour and cornstarch, they're wonderful thickening agents, but you need to have an understanding of how much to use. And, you know, only this really comes with practice. So I've had chefs come for an interview and stir raw flour into milk or into heavy cream and call it a thickener. They don't work with me. That is just so lazy and so schlocky. The person that has the experience, that can eyeball it, is the person that I want. And this test is a simple test. It starts with a little bit of chicken broth, a little bit of beef broth, and a little bit of milk. Here you go. Here's 3 containers of 3 liquids. I have simply asked the interviewee, go make me 3 sauces. Here's 3 liquids, go make me 3 sauces. So here's the thing. If you want to cook in my kitchen with me, you're going to have to show me these things. You're going to have to show me that you know when oil is about to smoke. It's very important. You're going to have to show me that you know how to develop color in a saute pan or on a grill. You're going to have to show me the opposite end, that you can control heat in a cool saute pan. You're not just a blazer. You're not just blazing away. You're going to have to show me that you can grill steaks to order. That makes sense. You're going to have to show me that you can use an oven without drying stuff out. You're going to have to show me that you can control moist heat as well and thicken liquids to make sauces. It's the whole idea there. So how many do you have? Okay? Is there a knock at the door? There are people that have all 7 that are already here to cook with me. All right, let's slow down a little bit. Look, if you want to cook great food consistently, you know, you can find that magical recipe that works one time. But if you want to consistently put out great food, like a chef in your own home, then you're going to want to pay attention to the cooking techniques and enjoy these repeatable methods. It's the whole idea. It ruins the magic. It ruins, like, only chefs can cook like this. No, it's like the magician, right? It's not about recipes. It's not even about the food. It's all about how you cook. It's all about the methods that you use to make you a skilled enough cook to cook for any diet or any desire. That's the whole idea. That's what we're talking about today. So when you have these 7 skills, it's going to allow you to make better sense out of recipes too, because you have an increased understanding about how different cooking techniques work. And you can look down at that recipe and say, that is a dead end. I just know that's not going to work out well, right? And then you start creating things the way that you want them. You don't have somebody else telling you what and how you should cook. And not only can you create things the way that you want them, then you can do it again and again and again and again, because you have a repeatable method. It's the entire idea behind it. So, mark down, how many of the 7 do you have? Mark down how many of the 7 you're going to work on. It's all attainable. It's not magic. That magician, he holds the card behind his hand. It's a great skill. It takes him years to do. That coin, he shows you the empty hand, and it's back here. Sorry, all you magicians out there. Hey, let's go to our Carefree Cooks collection, where we peek inside of the Carefree Cooks community for lifetime members of web cooking classes, and let's see who's putting some of these skills to use. Here's some confidence, right? Tom's cooking confidence is pretty much brimming over these days. We've watched his progression. It's amazing, right? We have seen Tom expand week over week within our community. And now he has the confidence. It's another benefit that comes from this. You start splurging on those ingredients that maybe you didn't cook before because you had the fears, the doubts, and you were guessing. What we talked about at the beginning, right? Who's going to spend money on a lobster tail if you're not sure you can cook it right? You think you might mess it up, and you guess at it anyway. I'm not going to risk that money. But get this. Tom says this is his first lobster tail. First one he's ever cooked. And it is spot on because Tom knows it doesn't matter what you cook. It really matters how you cook it. Heidi has been paying attention. She was watching my live casual cooking segments at Thursdays at 6:30 p.m. Eastern because evidently I have inspired her to make quesadillas. That's great. She poached her chicken. Excellent skill, moist cooking method skill. As she called it, the lazy river of chicken broth. That's a great visual to have. She poached her chicken in the lazy river of chicken broth using the poaching method perfectly. And she even got the oven pan flip down right for the quesadilla. Look how beautifully brown that is. Nicely done, Heidi. Really nicely done. Sherry has very nice kids. They offered to take her and her husband out for Chinese food for dinner. Sherry said she begged off because she really had shrimp Alfredo on her mind. And here it is. No recipe, just methods, just ingredients, just a confidence without doubt, without guessing. She made up this beautiful dish. Probably much better than takeout Chinese food, I'm guessing. Zira, she was inspired by the spaghetti and meatballs class from last week. She made this outstanding dish. This is great. And what it reminds to me is, with all due respect to Tom, that's his path, right? But not everything needs to be lobster tail for you to be proud of it. The goal is not to do surf and turf. That's not the end goal. The goal for Zira might be the best spaghetti and meatballs ever, right? And this is the kind of dish that feeds the soul. This is the kind of dish that makes you really proud and happy. And that's the idea. But look, if you don't have all 7 skills in my chef test yet, it's okay. No problem. I'm not here to make you feel badly. I'm here to tell you that the future is really, really bright. Because you're not planning on stopping learning, right? You're not going to stop learning. I mean, if you just decide I'm never going to learn anything new, then, okay, I'm not sure I can help you. But I don't think you're going to stop. So right now, maybe you got 1 or 2 of the skills. But very soon, you're going to add a 3rd. Then you're going to add a 4th. Maybe a 5th, 6th, and 7th. Because you're going to see the path to truly carefree cooking is going to be laid out in front of you if you concentrate on the methods and techniques, not on the recipes, not on the diets, and not on the food. That's the idea. Continuing your journey. That's the most important part. Let's go back to the what am I. I wonder how many people got this today. It's one of my favorite words in the kitchen. I just love saying it. I love spelling it. It's called chinois.
Chinois.
Don't you love saying chinois? Chinois is a very fine strainer. It's a great tool in the kitchen. If you puree something and you want to make it silky, silky smooth, it's the chinois that you want. And look, if you know someone who's in the middle of their own cooking journey and they need some mile markers along the way, right? Some indication of how far along they are on this path, then please share, like this video with them so they can start working on the 7 skills that are going to propel them down this road the quickest. And look, also, if you'd like to know how to stop wasting that food that spoils before you ever got to cook it, that's the worst thing that can happen. If you want to know how to store your food properly and protect your investment in fresh food, well, I go even more deeply into these topics, as well as cooking with fresh herbs and spices in my free online web class. It's called Buy Fresh, Cook Simple, Eat Well, 5 Simple Steps Toward Easy, Healthy Cooking. So if you go to webcookingclasses.com/fresh, you can find a class time that's good for you. So Chef Todd Moore reminding you that there's a method, specifically 7 skills, that are going to lead to your cooking success. Bye-bye, everyone.